Hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Lamplight City. Wir können... Wo können wir denn alles? Zum Club der Geisterkunder könnten wir noch, zur Universität und zur Bank. Okay.
Well, so much for modesty. Ooh, is it warm in here or is it just me? All the tools an artist would ever need. Brushes, pieces of canvas, paints. There's also several jars full of clear liquid. Interesting. Huh. This is linseed oil. It's used as a drying agent for oil paintings. It would be a good idea to take a sample of this, Miles, especially now that nobody's looking. I'm guessing it's locked, but it probably only contains more art supplies we don't care about. Where dreams go to die. These aren't half bad. Nice to know the students aren't completely wasting their time here.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Are you Roger DeVay?
I am.
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I have some questions for you if you aren't too busy.
Will this take long? This isn't exactly the best time.
It shouldn't, no.
All right then. Quickly.
Do you know Desiree Lathan?
Desiree? Yes, of course I know her. What happened to her was just awful.
Indeed. My condolences, Mr. DeVay. What can you tell me about her?
She was a wonderful woman. Sharp, full of life, extremely witty. I only knew her for a short time, but I consider myself lucky to have had her as a friend.
How did you two meet?
We were introduced at a party and became fast friends. It's hard to believe she's really gone.
Do you have any information regarding Desiree's death?
No, none at all. It came as a total shock. I heard she was burned to death. Oh, is that true?
It is.
It's really just unthinkable.
Do you know of anyone who might have wished harm upon her?
No, everyone loved her. To think someone could be capable of doing that to her, it just makes me feel sick.
You painted Desiree's portrait, is that right?
Yes, I finished it just a few months ago.
Do you often do commissioned work?
Sometimes, but this wasn't exactly a commission, more like a gift.
You mean you weren't paid for it?
No, I didn't do it for money. It was an honor just to paint her.
I see. And did she like the result?
Well, she had it hanging in her bedroom and not in her attic, so I assumed she liked it well enough.
It was a rather nice portrait, I must admit.
Oh, so you've seen it?
Indeed I have. Regrettably, I can't comment on the likeness, never having seen the subject in life.
Ah, yes. Well, she used to say that standing in front of it was like looking into a mirror. I tried my best to do her justice.
How long have you been teaching at this university?
About 4 years now.
And do you also earn money with your painting?
Not of late. I haven't sold a painting in some time. But my salary from the university is enough for the time being. Perhaps someday I'll be able to devote the proper focus to my painting.
I'll let you get back to your class.
Right.
Okay. Gehen wir erstmal zur Bank.
Mr. Fordham.
Ah, Mr. Dupre. Good to see you again. Is all well with you?
Absolutely. Everything is wonderful. Because of you, the city has finally seen Laura Dupre for the monster she is. I cannot thank you enough.
I suppose you're welcome?
Now then, is there anything I can help you with?
Yes, I'm looking for Peter Andrews. I was told he worked here.
That's right. His desk is just over there.
Thank you, Mr. Dupre. Lovely seeing you.
Okay.
What an absurd contraption. Imagine needing all those extra bits and bobs just to tell the time. I tried using one of these automatic money dispensers once, but I nearly got my arm stuck inside. They still got a long way to go. Yeah, impressive bit of hardware. It would take a criminal mastermind to rob this bank. We haven't got anything else to ask him about right now.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. May I ask you a few questions?
Yes, I suppose that would be fine. Have a seat.
I'd rather stand if it's all the same to you. Now then. Do you know Desiree Lathan?
Desiree Lathan? No, I can't say the name rings any bells.
Exactly what is your role here at the bank?
I'm the manager. I handle the new accounts, organize finance, that sort of thing.
Have you been here long?
Coming up on 17 years. Is this at all relevant to your investigation?
Anything could be, Mr. Andrews. You say you don't know Miss Lathan. Would you care to explain these?
Why are they crumpled up? Did she throw them out? And why do you have them?
I just love catching people like this.
Relax, Mr. Andrews. Let's take this slowly. Now, I can assume by your reaction that these are your letters?
Yes, they are.
So why did you lie about knowing Miss Lathan?
I promised my wife I would cut off contact.
But you clearly didn't. The most recent letter is from 2 weeks ago.
Did she hire you?
Your wife? No, that's not why I'm here.
Ah, well, that's somewhat of a relief then.
So your wife knows about your correspondence with Miss Lathan?
Well, I don't know if you could really call it correspondence. Desiree never wrote back. But yes, Peggy, that is to say Margaret found out shortly after we married.
Exactly how many letters did this bounder send, I wonder?
At first I tried to make it out that she was just a friend, but she found one of the more intimate ones while I was writing it.
I see. And what was her reaction?
What do you think? I still have the scar from the glass that she threw at me.
You're still married?
Oh yes. Margaret comes from a very strict Catholic family. They would sooner she die than divorce. It hasn't been easy. She makes sure to take full advantage of the situation, always buying herself the most expensive jewelry and spending a fortune on food for those wretched cats. I swear, they're better fed than I am.
Where might I find Mrs. Andrews? I'd like to speak to her.
Our house is at 713 Longfellow Street, just at the edge of Gascon. But I warn you, it's a goddamn menagerie she's got. I'd stay away if you're averse to being covered in animal hair.
I'll take my chances.
Ja, interessant. Immerhin neuer Ort freigeschaltet.
Were you aware of Miss Lathan's death?
What? Desiree is dead? No.
She was found burned to death in her bed.
You're lying. You have to be.
I'm afraid I'm not, Mr. Andrews.
Oh, Desiree.
Do you have any idea who might have wanted to kill her?
No, she was a marvelous woman.
Well, I'm sorry to have to be the bearer of bad news, but at least you won't have to worry about writing any more letters.
That isn't funny, Mr. Fordham.
Yes, it
Fun.
was. Don't listen to him.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Andrews.
Ich fand's auch witzig. Okay, gut. Wir konnten also zu Peggy, beziehungsweise Margaret. Machen wir aber nicht.
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
Denn mich interessiert was
There's
anderes.
quite a few members in this group. There's quite a few.
Oh, ich darf es mir nicht angucken. Das ist bitter.
I
Bisschen
never
gehofft,
much
ich darf es
cared
mir
for all
nochmal
that
angucken.
mystic stuff. Why should your life be dictated by a bunch of cards?
Okay, wahrscheinlich aber dann nichts Neues, was wir gesagt kriegen. Wir haben ja alle schon mal durchgelesen. Spontane Mende, ja, das kennen wir ja alles.
This all
Also
sounds
überspringen wir
strangely
das mal.
familiar, but spontaneous human combustion can't be real, can it? Then again, sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one.
Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
Are you familiar with a woman named Desiree Lathan?
Yes, she came to see me just last week. She told me she was doing research for an article she was writing for Brentwell magazine.
What sort of research?
She asked me a few questions and looked at my books. That was all. She wasn't here for very long.
And what was she researching?
Something about spontaneous human combustion, I believe.
What can you tell me about spontaneous human combustion?
I'm not overly familiar with the subject, but I do have a book about it on the shelf back there. You are welcome to look at it if it will help.
I may, but I'd like to know what your understanding of it is.
Well, I believe it is when the human body inexplicably catches fire and burns. It usually occurs among elderly women who drink to excess, and very little fire damage is caused around the body. That's really all I know, darling. It's not a very agreeable subject for study now, is it?
Did you know that Desiree Lathan is dead?
What? My God, no. I didn't. What happened to her?
She was found burned to death in her bed.
How awful.
Do you have any idea how this may have happened?
There are a number of possibilities. But if she was in the middle of researching spontaneous human combustion, and then to have this happen, it can't be a coincidence.
Are you suggesting she herself was a victim of spontaneous combustion?
One need only compare the circumstances of her death with the facts, darling.
She can't be serious, can she?
Offensichtlich schon.
Thank you for the information. It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
Ja, das hat uns jetzt natürlich...
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
nicht viel weitergeholfen. Wir gehen erstmal ins Polizeiregister. Wir haben schließlich ja... Was
Now that we've got some linseed oil, it's probably worth testing.
Wie ging das denn nochmal?
Looks like ammonium chloride.
Doch so einfach.
Well, I'll be damned. We've got ourselves a match. I wonder if Edwards knows anything pertinent about this stuff.
Pardon me, Edwards.
Yes?
Have you had a chance to look at those ashes I gave you?
Yes, I have. Unfortunately, there isn't much I can tell you. The victim burned to death at a very high temperature. These ashes are greasy and putrid because of liquefied fat from the body, which burned like a candle. As to what caused her to burn, I cannot say without more evidence. I'm sorry, Miles.
It's quite all right, Edwards. I appreciate the information nonetheless.
Well, just so you don't go away empty-handed, have a copy of my report. Maybe it will be of some use.
What do you know about linseed oil?
It's an oil made from flaxseed that has many uses. Most commonly, it's used to dry things like varnish or oil paints. Some people even eat it for health benefits. I hear it goes well with a bit of quark.
And it's flammable?
As most oils are, yes. Where are you going with this?
The oily residue on that rag is linseed oil.
Fascinating.
But I found no trace of anything used to light a fire at the crime scene.
Uh-oh, he's getting that gleam in his eye.
Wait just a moment. Linseed oil? Of course! Anytime linseed oil is used, extreme caution must be taken to dry cure rags that may be soaked in it. That's because when linseed oil dries and oxidizes, it releases heat. A pile of rags soaked in linseed oil in a confined space runs the risk of spontaneously combusting.
How long would this take exactly?
A few days, at least.
Interesting. It's a rather uncertain means of murder, but it's excellent for appearing accidental.
It's certainly not the most far-fetched conclusion you've ever come to.
Thanks. That's all I needed to know for the moment.
Anytime, Fordham.
Okay, das könnte uns also
That
theoretisch...
collection of stains, fluids, and other repugnant materials almost makes me homesick for the chum.
Könnte uns natürlich darauf bringen, dass der Künstler, also der Universitätslehrer, ihm gegebenenfalls doch verwickelt war. Er hatte vor ein paar Monaten das Gemälde fertig gemacht.
Nice house. It definitely screams, eccentric person lives here. Speaking of which, that must be Mrs. Andrews over there with those rodents.
Schade, ich habe gehofft, ich sehe die Katzen. Allerdings, bevor wir mit ihr sprechen, bedanke ich mich recht herzlich fürs Zusehen und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal. Ciao, ciao!